Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing well, and today I'm talking about a stock market warning. This is not necessarily me being, oh my god, panic stations, like it's nothing crazy like that, but I'm just wanting to put a warning out there. Now, I was a bit unsure whether or not to do this video because it can be a bit of a heated topic, it can be a bit of a sensitive topic when you start saying these things. And I was like, is this something that I want to do? Because I got really careful about it because sometimes you can have a bit of a backlash about some of these things. And I feel like I've got to be honest. Like the whole thing of my YouTube channel is transparency, honest, and that if I see something that I don't like, I tell you guys that I don't like that. I've done it plenty before on stocks that I've owned, for example, and I want to keep that up. So yeah, I mean, hopefully you appreciate that. I am trying to be honest. I know that a few people might get upset by this video, but I really feel like I had to give this video out here as a warning. And I never wanted this video to sound like, oh, there's a stock market crash around the corner. But I just want to put a warning that this is something that I'm a little bit fearful about right now in the current situation. So if you could smash the like button, if you are new, subscribe, and if you do want to know when I'm buying and selling companies, make sure you join my Patreon. The link is in the description. And also if you want to start buying some stocks, there's a free trade account, a link in the description, and the Trading 2 and 2 account link in the description. You open an account through them links, you also get a free share. But we'll get stuck onto the video today about this situation that we're currently in. And this one down here is when I talk about the YouTube, I want you guys, I will kind of think about making a video about this just on its own. And I decided not to. Maybe if there's demand, I might go into it a little bit more detail, but that once again was a very sensitive subject. And I was once again very unsure if I want to make it, but I want to be honest. I don't want to, dance around any things. I want to give you guys my honest opinion on the situation. So first of all, I want to talk about the greed at the moment. So one thing that I always live by, and I've always gone by in the stock market, is when people are being greedy, that's when to be fearful, and when people are fearful, that's when to be greedy. And that Warren Buffett quote has always been something that I run through my head pretty much every day. Looking into stocks is something that I always consider. And when the stock market is bleeding, when there's blood on the streets, that's my favourite time to buy as a stock market investor. And I always like to do the opposite of what the market's doing. So when stocks are having bad times, that's when I love to buy stocks, and you can get some great gains off there. When people are scared to go in, sometimes they're the best buying opportunities. And it works the other way around as well. When people are greedy, that's when I look at right, is that a good time to sell that stock? Has it gone up too much now? And sometimes the people are greedy and sometimes chase the stocks that are breaking all-time highs. Sometimes they can go up 10, 20, 30, 40%. But the big risk is that if you do buy at the top and you start buying when you're greedy, and all of a sudden we have a big U-turn in the stock market, those guys are always the first ones to take a big massive hit, the first ones to get flushed out of the market. And that's always something that I've always gone by. I always like to live by that quote. And I look right now, and is the stock market being quite greedy? Yeah. And when I go onto the proof a little bit later, you'll see how much greed that is. So that's kind of, like I said, it's going to be a warning today. I don't want it to be a talk about a crash, because I always get this on the channel quite a bit. Is like, if you think this situation, is there going to be a crash? Is there going to be a crash next week? Is there a crash in a month? Crash in 2 months? To put a date on the crash is impossible, or a stock market crash, or a stock market pullback. To put a single date on when a crash will happen is impossible. You cannot predict crashes. If you could predict crashes, you'd be the most successful investor that has ever lived. That's what you'd be known by. If you could successfully predict every single crash, you'd do amazing, because you just sell when this crash is about to happen and then you'd buy back in. And you can't do it. It's impossible to pick a stock market crash. So that's something you've always got to be prepared of. Another thing is that when we see a downturn in the markets, we never know when the downturn is going to happen. We never know when a bull case or a bull market is going to happen. They are really impossible to predict. If you went back to me in June time, July time, and you said to me what do you see the stock market's doing from June? And imagine we've had a big massive drop, we've gone up quite a bit. I was like, I think we'll only steadily go up from here now. That's what I thought. And next thing you know, I think the stock market's up 30% since then. And that's exactly why you can't time the market. You know, sometimes people hold cash on the sidelines and go, "Oh, I'll buy when there's the next crash." But the problem is what happens if you don't get the crash for the next, year, 2 year? And that's the problem. Like, banking on a crash is something you never do. And I always say, never time the market. You always want to be time in the market, and that's the best way to perform. There's certain things that you can do to avoid or help you in a crash situation, but the thing is you don't know when a crash is going to happen. You don't know if it's coming soon. You don't know if it's years away. And the last thing you want to do is be sat on the sidelines. The last thing you want to do is be selling a stock because you think that it might have a 5% drop next week and then it goes up another 35%. I saw that quite a bit on the UK side in this time round, is that I saw a lot of people who were buying UK shares. They were up 20, 30, 40%. They're like, you know what, I'm going to take my profits here. Next thing you know, we get the vaccine news the week later. Stock market was up. Every single stock was up like 20% that day. And I saw that quite a bit, and people were trying to time the market for a couple of percentage. And that's the last thing you want to do. As long as you're buying great companies at decent prices, you'll do really well in the stock market. That's just the aim of the game. But there is some things that you can do to prepare for this, and I would say cash is definitely king. So you want to be making sure you've got a little bit of cash on there. I've got so many people that are getting this at the moment that their cash piles are 0%, 5%. And realistically, I would say that you definitely need 15% cash pile right now. Personally, I'm at 30%, but if you don't have 15% cash and this carries on, it's going to be a bit of a bad situation for you. So that is something that I'm just going to say right now. I would not try time the market. Nevertheless, there's always good ways to be prepared for it and see what's coming ahead. So I guess the next thing is like proof of why this is going to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the S&P 500 stock chart. Now in about February time, when we started dipping down, you can see the S&P chart had a big massive decline. We went down about 33%. And then from about March time, we actually recovered pretty much what had happened because of the COVID very, very quickly, a lot quicker than I really predicted. I thought we wouldn't get to COVID stock market levels until November. So this was a very, very fast recovery. So that's something to be really careful of. We were pretty much, by summer, we had put more on the S&P 500 than it was at pre-COVID. And then from about August, when we did start to get into the positive territory, we're up another 15%. So the stock market is higher than pre-COVID levels. So what I would say to you at that point of view is like, is that justified? Like, are we in a place where the economy is stronger? Are we in a place where companies are putting in better earnings than COVID? Are we justified having a 15% rise since February? Like, you look around you, loads of companies are nowhere near operating what they were doing, but we're 15% higher in the stock market. And that's really scary. And the thing as well you got to consider is that we actually, when we hit 2020, we actually had a pretty decent start to 2020. And overall, we're up 17%. Now, obviously, the tech has had a massive part in this, but still, we're still very, very high up. And that's one thing, like, some people have to be really careful of this situation, because I think there's been a lot of new investors in 2020 that haven't been in the market for 12 months yet. And their experience at the moment is that stocks just go up. And this is normal. Like, stocks just go up that much. And you've got to remember, stocks tend to go up, or the stock market tends to go up like 8% average a year. And we've pretty much nearly done double that in 2020. I mean, when you look at the what we did from COVID, that was an absolutely insane game. But even pre-COVID, we've had a fantastic year. And that's scary, isn't it? I think that's really scary that we have had a fantastic stock market year, even though we've had a pandemic that has crippled the economy. And that is scary. And the thing as well is, like, 2019 was a pretty good year. And you look from 2019, we're up nearly 50% since 2019. So you think like the stock market goes up like 7-8% a year, and we're up 50%. Like, we're doing not better than what we normally do, like 3 times. And that's a little bit scary. So that's one of the red signs or warning signs that I'm seeing right now, is that people have to be careful, especially a lot of new investors. A lot of new investors think the stock market just goes up and up and up, and we've done too well. We've done too well, and we can't carry on at this rate. There's no way that the stock market can carry on going up in this rate, and that's a little bit scary from that point of view. Now, the next thing is the S&P 500 P ratio. So I sometimes like looking at this, and we do have a little bit of shoot up when a recession does normally happen. But at the moment, we look at like a 38p on the stock market. And one thing that I'm also thinking here is that obviously we've got, there's some negative earnings that's starting to get priced in, and that will eventually equal out. But let's not forget, it's crazy. It is crazy at what valuations we're trading at. Like a 38p ratio. Like normally we're 20. And I know there's a little factors of, earnings coming in here, but let's not forget that's probably a really key point to be looking at. And my last point is the YouTube side of it. So I was kind of debating whether or not to make a separate video about this. I didn't really, I thought I'll just stick it on this one, but if the full video is in demand, I could maybe do that. But yeah, I want to talk about the YouTube side of it. So there is a big problem with the stock market and YouTube together. So over the last maybe 18 months, 24 months, YouTube has come a big, massive part of the stock market, and YouTube can move stocks now, and it has as much power as something like a CNBC, and that's a scary thought. Someone stood in front of a whiteboard with a camera can actually move the stock market, and that's scary. That the YouTube has a lot of power on the stock market right now, and definitely over the last 12 months, even less than that, since March time, there's been a massive surge of people that have been invested in the stock market that have only just got used to this. But as well, there's been a surge of YouTubers that have started in, like March time, probably been on furlough or had a lot of more time on their hands because you can't pretty much go out anywhere to eat or anything like that. But we've had a surge in YouTubers from March to, where we are at now, in the last couple of months really. And a lot of these YouTubers are new investors. And once again, them guys are only used to, the stock market going up. And unfortunately, when the stock market gets into this situation, you end up with a lot of people that, and this isn't everyone, I'm just saying that this is definitely I would say at least 50%. They get into this mindset that they're like, they cannot be defeated, that they are invincible, that anything that's thrown at them, the market will shrug it off, and you can pretty much buy any stock at the moment and the stock will go up. And that's the situation that we're in, which is really scary because we should not be in that situation. At the moment, we should be in a situation where the stock market pretty much goes flat and doesn't do anything, and you have to scan through 95% of stocks that are just garbage and are pretty much overvalued. And them stocks shouldn't really do much. And you should be really, looking through a lot of stocks, trying to find the little gems that are hidden that will outperform the market. When the market goes up, 8%, you should be able to, you need to be looking for them gems that will do really well. And at the moment, it seems like you can buy anything. Trying to stop pick and find some gems is just as non-existent because it seems like you can pretty much buy any stock at the moment and it goes up, which is really, really worrying because it's led to this mentality now, and I've seen it with new investors, I've seen it with some YouTubers now where they think they can buy anything and it's going to work out for them. And sure, while we're in the bull market, look, this stock's gone up 30% today, this gone up 50% today, but that's not going to last forever. I've been in the stock market long enough now to understand where I see very nearly bubble signs happening. And this is starting to get into that situation where you think you're untouchable. And I've seen as well on this YouTube scene now that they have so much control over the market, and especially a lot of the new investors that are in there. Obviously, younger generation go to YouTube for the stock market stuff to help them and everything like that. But the situation now is that people are getting that untouchable now. I'm even seeing people recommend penny stocks. And I generally don't think people understand what these things are. There's a reason why they're called penny stocks. And At the moment, if they are going well, everyone looks a millionaire right now. But I'll tell you something, where if the I was going to say something I can't say there. When there is something that hits the fan, then you'll see some panic, and then you'll see realistically who is adapted to the right mindset of the stock market here, and that is a situation that's going to happen. There's a reason why they are penny stocks. There's a reason why I like sleeping at night and penny stocks aren't in my portfolio. And I tell you, when we get into a bit more of a bumpy situation where we kind of leave this bubble a little bit, them stocks as well, they will move down massive. There'll be people waking up and looking at them stocks and they'll be like down 30% in a day. And that will start happening. At the moment, it's all whistles and bells at the moment because the stock market goes up, everything's going up, but they are a reason why they are called high risk stocks. And at the moment, the risk part isn't existing, but it will come back soon. And that's something you've got to be really careful of. There's a untouchable mindset right now. And you'll soon see it. When there's a little bit of blood in the street, you'll see why the bears take the elevator and the stock market will go down. Now, like I say, I make this video, I'm saying I generally don't know when times will get a little bit more realistic. I was going to say tougher, but realistic is probably the word. And things start changing. And it might be a month from now, it might be 6 months from now. So never bank on, if I'm going to time the market. But I'm just putting that warning out there that we are in this situation where I see a lot of warning signs going on. And I'm a little bit worried about what's going on. Nevertheless, I'm not going to change my investing strategy because of that. But I am preparing that with cash. And that's something that I'll be very careful of. And it should be a lot harder to pick gems and stock gems in the stock market right now. Not happening at the moment, but it should get there right in a few months, I feel. Like I say, I feel like that was like a topic that I could have made a separate video about it. Like I feel like this here is something that's really changed over the last kind of 12 months. Is that's what's really changed on the stock market YouTube scene, and it is a little bit careful about being undefeatable and that sort of situation. And also as well, you got to be really careful. I think, like I said, this could be a separate video, but also, the guys that you're listening to, be careful that, I've seen some guys that put in like 5x your stock in the next week and stuff like that. That's sort of something you got to be really careful of. Realistically, is that going to happen? That's something that's got to change a little bit right now. And that's something you got to be really careful of. And there's just a lot of situations like that. There's people that talk about buying and selling stocks, but there's no track history on how they've done. I know there's certainly one person that posts a lot of stock market stuff, and his stocks have not done that well from what is previously recommended, but has a good nearly 100k following. And you've got to be really careful of these situations. There's a lot of people out there saying what to do, what to buy, and they've pretty much only been in the market since March and only know a bull market. And that's, like I said, this, I'm not going to talk about it too much because I feel like it could be a separate video, but I don't want to do that if it's not wanted, and I am a bit wary about some sort of backlash that could happen off that. But that's something to be really careful of as well. But I thought this was a video that, hey, I'm going to put out. I'm not going to say it's a crash coming. I'm not saying be careful of cash. I'm just putting a warning out there that this is some situations that are happening right now that you need to be careful of as an investor. And like I say, I want to be honest, and this is what I'm seeing. And I just want you guys to be careful. I don't want anyone to be in a situation where they are, trying to time the market because they're scared. At the same time, I don't want anyone to be, in this category and just chasing, going, this is amazing, I'm not going to lose money. And I just want to put a warning out to both cases that this is what I feel like's going on. So I hope you enjoyed it anyway. If you could, smash the like button. I have no idea how long this video went on for, but I feel like it could be a while. If you could subscribe, that'd be absolutely amazing. And I'll see you in the next video.